All right, here we go. I will call the meeting to order, the March 11th study session. Madam Clerk, roll call, please.
The record will reflect that all members of council are present.
Okay, terrific. We're now going to current business, and the first item is clarification on items on the consent calendar. Councilmember Wygan, do you need any clarification regarding any items on the consent calendar?
I do not.
Councilmember Bartow?
I do not.
Councilmember Grant?
No.
Councilmember Wallem?
None.
Councilmember Weber?
None.
Mayor Pro Tem Kleiman?
No. Should I announce my recusal?
Not yet, no.
Okay.
And I do not. I don't have anything. So, all right, we good? All right, next is a presentation to the city by the Newport Beach Sister City Association on behalf of Marriage Uchida of Okazaki, Japan. So let's have Truly Boring, president of the Sister City Association, come forward to present the gift, and then we'll all take photos. And we also have a gift, so why don't you go first, and then I'll present our gift.
Exciting.
Yeah.
Okay. I'm going to read a little bit. Thank you, Honorable Joe Stapleton and Newport Beach City Council. As he said, my name is Truly Boring. I'm president of the Newport Beach Sister City. We're a nonprofit organization and fall under the umbrella of Newport Beach City Cultural Arts Division. Our Newport Beach Sister City chapter started in 1984, beginning with Okazaki, Japan. And we were happy to celebrate our 40th year of communication and cultural exchanges last year. We visited the city with a delegation and enjoyed their warm hospitality and friendship. We will be sending a group of high school students to Japan this summer, as we do every year for a cultural and student exchange. And we look forward to the Japanese exchange students coming to Newport next year. This year, the mayor of Okazaki, Mayor Yoshida, was due to arrive in Newport Beach in February, just after the fires in LA, and chose to postpone his trip for a more suitable time. And so he had sent us this gift to give to the Honorable Mayor Joe Stapleton and the city of Newport Beach. It is a taiko drum, and the wood is made from the barrels of their famous Mariua Hacho miso. And they have been producing miso in Okazaki since the 1300s. And we visited this factory when we were there and were amazed by the production process. And so anyway, we are happy to add this piece to the many gifts that Okazaki has given us over the years. And it symbolizes the long-lasting friendship between our two cities.
Love that.
This is the drum.
I'd like you to repeat all of those. Maybe go back and repeat everything. You really nailed that. That was great.
Oh, okay, well, thank you.
I'm kidding. I don't know what the protocol is. Do I have to give that to the city, or can I take that home?
I know, right? Is it to you?
I don't know.
I know. We have lots of pieces around town. Put it in your office. Have fun with it.
Fair enough. I love that. Well, this is to Mayor Chida as well. This is a photograph from local photographer Michael Pickett, and it's a photo of our iconic wedge lifeguard stand on the peninsula. So I think you'll like it. So why don't we go and take a photo with everyone, and we'll present the gifts. Okay, thank you.
That heavy?
It's not. Sorry. Okay.
Got it? There we go.
Okay. Thanks so much. Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
I'm going to go to Japan next year in April.
Oh, yeah, I don't know. Yeah,
Sounds good.
yeah.
Okay. Okay.
Ready?
Write that down so that I don't mess it up again.
Just pick something.
Madam Clerk, my car is that way. So I don't know where she's going with that. All right, let's see here. That was terrific. Thank you to the Sister City Association for being here, and that was fun. So hopefully we'll have the mayor out here again soon to do that. So next is the proclamation recognizing the National Nutrition Month. I'll read the proclamation, and then can Dr. Sangeeta Srivastava, the current president of the California Academy of Nutrition and Dietetics, I'm messing that up, come forward to say a few words, and then we'll take photos.
Maybe you should let her do the reading.
Maybe I
of
should
those
let you do
names
the
for
reading.
I will just speak my heart out.
Fair enough. All right, let me, hopefully the proclamation's easier than that, and we'll go from there. Okay. So whereas food is the substance by which life is sustained, and whereas the type and quality and amount of food that individuals consume each day plays a vital role in their overall health and physical fitness. Better nutrition is related to improved infant, child, and maternal health, stronger immune systems, safer pregnancy and childbirth, lower risk, non-communicable diseases such as diabetes and cardiovascular disease, and longevity. So Food Connect Us is the theme for National Nutrition Month 2025, which serves as a reminder that food is a connecting factor for many of us. Food connects us to our cultures, our families, and our friends. Sharing a meal is an opportunity to learn about its preparation, who made it, and where the ingredients were sourced. Health, memories, traditions, seasons, and access can all impact our relationship with food. While these factors influence the foods we eat also affect our health. So therefore, I, Joe Stapleton, as the mayor of the city of Newport Beach, on behalf of the entire Newport Beach City Council, do hereby recognize the month of March as National Nutrition Month.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor and City Council members and all residents of the wonderful city of Newport Beach, California. I, Sangeeta Srivastava, a proud registered dietitian, along with my colleague, Dr. Matt Landry, UCI professor, and Linda Gigliotti, who has been the chair for our credential organization, who credential our, because we registered dietitian, are credentialed and evidence-based providers. As we know that nutrition can be everywhere in the forefront where the people, social media influencer can come and do this, and lots of harm is caused by non-evidence-based. So here we want to say thank you for proclaiming March as National Nutrition Month. And it's a nationwide campaign by Academy of Nutrition and Dietetics, started in 1973 as National Nutrition Week and shaped into month-long celebration in 1980s. And each year we have unique theme, and whole month of March we advocate for nutrition because we truly do care about the health of the people. Because we have modernized medicine, but I will see a dialysis patient who goes Monday, Wednesday, Friday to seek hemodialysis. It's not fun. We see a cancer patient who go on a chemotherapy. It's not fun. Many of the chronic diseases can be prevented through the transformative power of food and nutrition. So nutrition, medical nutrition therapy comes as a forefront in the disease prevention, disease management. So we encourage each resident of Newport Beach, California, on behalf of each registered dietitian in Newport Beach, California, Orange County, California, and entire California, and nationally. Encourage all residents to adopt healthier lifestyle, prioritize nutrition in your life, seek a help of registered dietitian, and definitely eat well for your health and well-being and for the health of our planet. Buy food seasonally, locally, to support our local farmers, and we can support local economy. And also, I will request and urge everybody that reduce food waste, because food is wasted hugely. About 40% of food produced in our country goes waste, and we still have food insecurity among our children in our nation. So I truly believe, as an educator, as a dietitian, and I'm sure our colleague will join, that we all can do our share in reducing food waste and taking charge of our health through the evidence-based power of food and nutrition. So thank you, Mr. Mayor, City Council member, for recognizing March as National Nutrition Month, and we humbly send our sense of gratitude. Thank you, Mayor.
Terrific. Well said, Doctor. If the three of you want to join us, we'll do a photo. Yeah. Okay, here we go. All right. Okay, so next we're going to hear from the Balboa Island Museum. So obviously the theme for my year as mayor is Celebrate Newport, and one thing we're doing at every council meeting is we're celebrating the people and the projects and the history of our beautiful city. And today it gives me great pride and honor to introduce Bruce Horn and Shirley Peppas and your entire Balboa Island Museum board and crew, and I just appreciate you guys being here. And I mean, the Newport Beach, the Balboa Island Museum, if you don't know, it's located here in Newport Beach, California, and it's a museum dedicated to preserving and promoting the culture and the history of Balboa Island and Newport Beach. It offers a lot of exhibits, a museum store, and of course, free admission. And it's on Marine Avenue, and I highly recommend anyone go check it out. But with that, I think Bruce Horn's going to give us the history of the great island of Balboa Island, and then I think Shirley will talk a little bit about the museum afterwards. So, Bruce, the floor is yours. Thank you.
May I use this microphone?
Please
so
do, yeah.
I don't block
Of
the view
course.
all of you.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you, City Council. I'm very proud to be here. I'm a member of the advisory board for Balboa Island Museum. Shirley Peppas will follow me with a history, as you just stated, of the museum. We are here joined also by many of the board members of Balboa Island Museum, all of them led by John Connors, who is the president, are here as very dedicated volunteers. They work 24/7, 365 to make this volunteer organization valuable to the public. At your request, I'm reading some history of the history of Balboa Island. I hope that it will not put you to sleep. Consider it Balboa Island 101. There will not be a quiz at the end of my reading.
Bruce Horn, I meant Bruce Cook, so I was thinking Spyglass. So my apologies, Bruce.
That's all right, Mayor. I didn't introduce myself because I didn't want to embarrass you.
No, please, no. My council colleagues already have embarrassed me, so thank you for that. My apologies.
But that's all right. This morning I was also introduced as Bruce Von Cook in honor of
Oh,
Noah.
Bruce Von Cook.
In honor of Noah. I don't know where the Von came from, but I'll take it.
It's better than what former Mayor Keith Curry calls him, so I guess we'll start with that.
Now we're all embarrassed.
Okay, here we go, people. Birth of Balboa Island, a short story. Well, not exactly. In 1902, William S. Collins and his partner, A.C. Hansen, purchased most of Balboa, Newport Bay, and the Sandspit, later known as Balboa Peninsula, from James McFadden, approximately 880 acres, for a whopping $50,000. He was now the owner of Newport Beach Township and all the mudflats that would later become most of the islands in our bay. They took on Henry E. Huntington as a partner, who was a major, as you all know, was a major developer of most of Southern California. Huntington had acquired the Pacific Electric Railway system and used it to promote new communities outside of Los Angeles. This would be a critical element in the development of Balboa Island. And in 1905, the Pacific Electric red cars were extended to Newport Beach and would soon bring thousands of summertime visitors from Los Angeles. In 1906, Collins began the task of dredging the bay to form Balboa Island, and for 8 years, his dredger spit sand and spit up onto the existing mudflats. Large draft horses pulled heavy rakes to smooth and level the sand, and when the dredging was finally complete, Collins had turned a 2-acre mudflat into a 35-acre island. In 1908, during the dredging process, the first homes were built on the higher western side of the island. A handful of Collins realtors began selling 30-foot by 80-foot lots. Guess how much? Who wants to guess? First lots on Balboa Island, $300. $300 for an inside lot. How much do you think the bayfronts went for? Anybody? Close, $600. Ding, ding, ding. $600 for a bayfront lot. Collins needed to sell all 1,400 plotted lots to pay for the utilities and infrastructure promised to the buyers. It didn't take long before real estate promoters, including Collins, sent salesmen to Pasadena, Los Angeles, and other places to market property around Newport Harbor. As we know, many longtime island residents have families tied to the Pasadena and LA areas. Collins used an annual bathing beauty contest, of course, what else would you do, to enhance and entice male buyers from Los Angeles. That still works, by the way. On these special days, each Pacific Electric red car was sent by a realtor offering free lunch and a boat ride to view the lots on Balboa Island. In 1905 and 1909, and 1908 and 1909, Collins gained permission from the Orange County Board of Supervisors and started to dredge the eastern part of Balboa Bay, a mudflat called Snipe Island. He cut a channel along the north side of the bay across from the pavilion, piling the sand and silt up on the mudflat, and thus Balboa Island was born, 1909. Now, Collins launched a national advertising campaign offering the 30-foot by 85-foot land lots, inland lots, for $600. He doubled the price, and the waterfront lots went up to $750 from the previous $600. All with promises of paved streets, sewers, electricity, street lights, water, and a ferry service. In 1909, a low 14-inch wooden bulkhead was built along the south side of the island, and an impromptu sewer system was laid out with pipes draining onto the beaches at their low tide levels to keep the discharge out of sight. It wasn't until 1914 that water lines to the island were first added. However, by 1914, Collins' dream had come to an end. He had failed to sell enough lots to complete the infrastructure. And then in 1916, lot owners voted to incorporate with the city of Newport Beach. This provided gray water and electricity from across the bay. The Balboa Island Improvement Association was formed to address a long list of needed repairs, and one of the first improvements was the water tower on Agate Avenue. A key figure in the island's development was Joseph Allen Beek. We're proud to say that the Beek family is still with the Balboa Island Museum. Seymour Beek and David Beek, among the very dedicated members of our board. To help pay for this dedication, the original Joe Beek worked summers for Balboa Island developer W.S. Collins, and Joe organized outings for groups of people, as a very young man, by the way, to ride the red car to Balboa. have a picnic, and visit the view lots for sale. During his summer college break in 1912, he helped build the first bridge to Balboa Island. It was only 12 feet wide, with room for one team and one wagon, and no autos crossed it for at least the next 2 years after it was built. In 1919, Joe took over the ferry service between Balboa Island and the Balboa Peninsula. And guess what? The family still, of course, has that today and faces the challenges of a modern world, which you all know about, with electricity and other issues. Balboa Island started out, obviously, as a summer vacation destination. Most homes had no heaters and were closed up in the winter. Families came down for the entire summer, not just a weekend, for the entire summer. Cooking was done on a gasoline stove, but there was no piped-in gas or electricity. Coal, oil, and lanterns and candles were used to light the cottages. In the very early days, around 1919, water for the island came from the famous wooden water tower, again built on agate. In 1920, Park Avenue was the only road paved on the island. People had outhouses behind their houses, and that was because there was no sewer. They burned the trash. Well, this is not a good thing. They burned the trash in big holes dug on the vacant lots, later sold to people. In 1920, the gas utilities came to the island for heating, cooking, and lighting. You want to hear more?
Clearly not your first time storytelling. You're doing a great job, Mr.
Well,
Cook.
I hope you're enjoying it. I am. Yeah. In 1921, homes were beginning to fill the island. Roads to the Newport Harbor area were still largely undeveloped. Many people still arrived by rail to the peninsula and took the ferry over the island. Although the first bridge from the mainland to the North Bayfront was built in 1912, it was not capable of carrying automobiles until 1929, when it was refurbished. The seawall was rebuilt in 1922. The Grand Canal wooden bulkhead and walk were rebuilt in concrete in 1929. The present-day Bayfront bulkhead, which offers walks and public piers, completed in 1938. This has allowed residents and visitors alike to walk around the entire island, enjoying the harbor and all the beaches. In 1924, the narrow bridge to Balboa Island was replaced with 2 lanes of wood. That bridge existed until 1928, and it was then demolished to make way for the concrete bridge. Over the many years, Balboa Island has developed into a unique and wonderful community, home to families, retirees, professionals, residents, celebrities alike. We all know that. We also know that perhaps in addition to Newport Center and Fashion Island, Balboa Island is probably the most recognized and most famous of the Newport Beach landmarks, not only in California and Los Angeles, but certainly across the country and even around the world. When people hear the word Newport Beach, they often think Balboa Island. Anyway, in finishing, I just want to remind everybody that those bayfront and interior lots, which sold for $300 or $600, now sell for well over $3 million, up to over $20 million. That basically says it all. Balboa Island maintains its charm and small town feel in spite of all the growth, in spite of all the economic growth and the influx of world visitors. And with that, I welcome Shirley Pepis, our founder and chairman of the museum, to talk about what the museum does today.
Okay. Yeah.
Thank you, Mayor Joe and the City Council. I let Bruce do the work of reading that long history. I hope you learned something, but if you didn't learn a lot or you want to know more, then you have to visit the museum, because everything that Bruce is talking about is in the museum in one of the exhibits, or in our gallery changes exhibits often. Like by the time I'm here today, we've had 400,000 visitors to that museum. And it's and right now it's quite slow because we're dealing with all the construction, but it's going to be good. And just a few highlights. We are open 7 days a week. We have hosted homeschoolers, ESL students with interpreters, as well as numerous students for Newport Mesa School District. And the most notable, I think, was the ESL, because there were about 30 students, well, they're almost adults, I think from University High, and they all came with an interpreter. So you can just have a vision of what that meeting might have been. So we also celebrate veterans. We do 2 events every year, and you can go on our website and learn more about them, or you can come to the museum, and it's all their photos and their accomplishments. We celebrate, as you know, a lot of fundraising events, speaker events, private and rotating exhibits. And lately, we've kind of expanded our opportunity, and we were just at the Orange County Airport with 130 feet of space, which was wonderful. And now, as of right now, it's been moved to the Newport Beach Library. So it's great. And the other thing that happened this year that was a little unique was Seymour Beek did a film, an hour and a half. He didn't do it, he was the star. But 2 of our historians worked on this for like 3 years. And it's quite, the history, even during the war, is very interesting. Another take on what we don't get to see. So I hope all of you get to see it, because now it's been shown at the film festival twice, and it's been at the Balboa Yacht Club. Now Newport Harbor Yacht Club is on the, and we'll just keep going, because everybody's very interested to hear it from him, because at 91 years old, he has a lot to tell us that we didn't know. Anyway, we hope you all visit. You can play in the sand. You can play our popular scavenger hunt, work on puzzles, or just sit at our community table. I've seen people bring their lunch in, actually. Anyway, I hope the city can always be a part of our future. We appreciate it and so grateful.
Terrific.
Thank you.
Thank you. Yeah. Well, thank you, Shirley, the queen of Balboa Island, and your entire team, and obviously former Mayor Keith Curry. Thank you for being here and all the hard work, and Dennis and Bruce Cook. Thank you so much. You're a legend in the community, and you certainly are quite the storyteller, and appreciate the rich history of Balboa Island. I only wish I would have invested $900 on 2 lots that are now worth north of $20 million. I got to call my grandfather and say, you could have done better. But here we are. And the Beek family, it's a great segue into our next council meeting. We'll be working with the Beek family to do a history on the Balboa Island Ferry. So that'll be a lot of fun, and tune into that. So thank you for that. I really appreciate the history of the island. Well done. Okay, with that, now is the time for capital improvement CIP early look. As in years past, council members and staff will announce any conflicts of interest related to this matter prior to presentation, and then have people recuse themselves and leave the room if there is a discussion regarding the item where a council member or staff has a conflict. So do any staff members have a conflict to announce? Leilani?
Thank you, Mayor. Regarding my personal residence, I potentially have conflicts related to the Balboa Boulevard, Newport Boulevard pavement rehabilitation project, the Oceanfront Boardwalk expansion project, and the Beach and Bay Sand Management Project.
Okay, terrific. Do any council members have any conflicts to announce? Anybody? No?
I
Okay, yeah, of course, Mr. Blum.
do as well.
Go ahead, Sarah. No, please,
Sorry,
after
I
you.
didn't know we were talking, listing the actual.
Yes, I have conflicts on due to real property on 417 and 501 30th Street regarding the Balboa Boulevard and Newport Boulevard pavement rehabilitation. I also have recusals due to real property interests at 224 Marine. For number 1, Underground Assessment District, 124. Number 2, Balboa Island Main Water Lane Replacement. B, Drainage and Pump Station Improvements. And C, the seawall improvements.
How about anything you don't? Let's start with what you don't have a conflict on.
Maybe you should just leave the room now.
All right.
The pier.
Yeah, the pier, good. Weber?
I have a conflict due to real property interest in my personal residence regarding the street and drainage project on Spyglass Hill Road, San Joaquin Hills Road.
Okay, Mayor Pro Tem?
And my conflict is on landscape enhancements program for Cameo Shores and the Shore Cliffs water system improvements due to proximity to my personal residence.
Okay, and for me, I have interest in properties at 4100 and 4110 MacArthur, so I have a conflict related to the concrete replacement and slurry program in the airport area and the street pavement rehabilitation repair on MacArthur and Von Carmen. And also, regarding my employment, I have a potential conflict because of a client source of income lives near the Balboa Yacht Basin dock replacement project and dredging project. Okay, all right. Ms. Leong, do we have a report?
Yes, we do. I'm going to turn it over to our Public Works Director, Dave Webb. Thank you.
Yes, good afternoon, Council, Mayor, Council members. This is, as you know, our next step in the development of our 25-26 CIP. We started these discussions earlier this year. We had some discussion at your planning session. We've met with various people in the community, been to various discussions at PBR and others. So tonight, Jim Houlihan, our City Engineer and Deputy Director, is going to go through the culmination of that. I'll just remind the audience and all that what we're looking at now is to what projects and money we're going to propose to add to the CIP. As you know, the 24-25 CIP has a lot of projects in it, and they flow through the year. But at this point, we'd like to kind of go over with you what you would like to add to that to develop the next CIP. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to Jim.
All right, thank you. I'll jump right in. So the CIP, what it does is it sets priorities and appropriates funds. It's our basis for identifying conflicts and for the planning, and develops and constructs our public infrastructure, and then addresses our maintenance projects and responds to the changing priorities and conditions throughout the city. This year, the focus is staying with maintaining and replacing existing infrastructure to keep it in good or great condition, and that includes 6.5 million in our baseline general fund, another 1.25 in general fund balance that's remaining, so a total of $7.75 million from the general fund. Also 2.5 million for our facility maintenance master plan, 2.3 million for park maintenance master plan, and another 1.5 million for our neighborhood enhancement projects. Some of the projects that are completed in the first 8 months total $50 million. These 6 projects alone signify about 78% of that, about $37 million. Significant, the Superior Avenue pedestrian bridge and parking lot work that we all celebrated. That was a great event. These are all very large projects in the multi-million dollars, but all complete so far this year. And in all, we have 21 projects that we've completed these first 8 months. Under construction, we have about $70 million. And these 8 alone represent about 80% of that. We have a total of 20 projects in construction right now. And of course, the most significant one here is the Woody Hall. And it's well underway and making great progress. For the projection for next year, we have a tentative budget of $108.5 million. It's very large. Last year it was 88.9. Of that 108, it's 67.9 of new funding, which I will walk through those projects that we would be looking to allocate funds to, and about 40.6 million in rebudget. Took a swag at it as of July 1. That's about what we would be at. Sometimes it comes out a little lower, which is ideal. Some of the large rebudgets are listed there. And we're looking forward to starting the Balboa Library Fire Station 1 this fall. This is a breakdown by fund type. As I mentioned, the general fund, 7.75 million. The big ones are really the roadway funding, and those are all grant or state funds, OCTA funds. the SB1, the gas tax, the Measure M2, and competitive Measure 2, and then our transportation circulation, which is a developer fee. That gets you to that 14.7 roughly. Our wastewater funds through our rates and such fees. And then the FFP, FMMP, PMMP, those are all general fund based and allocated to those different funds. And we're looking to allocate another 14.7 million out of those. And the last one, Tidelands, is a large one. Those are revenues generated in our bay, in the state Tidelands, that go into our Tidelands projects, as well as they also fund many of our city functions. So to start off, there are 39 total projects that I'm going to run through we're looking for new funding. In all, with the re-budget projects, we have 72 projects or programs. So what you'll see today is those 39. When we come back in May, we'll list out all the 79 or 72 projects. But with this is the new allocation that we're looking for. So here under facilities, again, the large one is the Balboa Library Fire Station 1. We're looking at adding $6.5 million. The current budget is approximately $16 million. So when we come in the next few months with a bid, we're hoping to be in that ballpark. The other large project that we're going out to bid right now is the city yard fueling support facilities and transfer station rehab. So that too, the budget is around, with the current estimate, about $7.4 million. So we're adding a little bit from the FFP into that as well. So total for facilities, about $10.7 million. For streets and drainage, we got a lot of roadway projects in here. I'll touch on the largest one is MacArthur, the pavement rehabilitation, Campus Drive to Jamboree. That one, approximately $6.6 million, and that will include signal work at Von Carmen and at Birch. So that there's signal money from our transportation section, and you'll see that in a second, that has been allocated directly into this budget.
And Jim, if you don't mind talking about landscape enhancement, because we have a few people interested in that program, what's involved in that?
So in our landscape enhancement, we're looking at the neighborhood enhancement funding for that, and that would be the Corona del Mar Villas frontage and also the Mesa Drive Trail work. Probably design in both those elements, and maybe by the end of the fiscal year, getting into construction. So that's probably that's the status of those right now. More of our street and drainage work. Old Newport Road, West Coast Highway, we've had this project for about 12 years. We've been working on this. We're likely, I know I just sat in the OCTA TAC meeting, and we approved the funding from Measure M2. So hopefully that continues through to the board, and they approve it as well. So it's very likely. Probably around $4.2 million from grants on that. So that's a large one. And then we'll start our slurry seal program in East Bluff this year. There's already, or that's the following year, we'll be doing the concrete work and pavement rehab in those areas as well.
If I could just fill in the gap there, we have had this project around a long time, Old Newport Road. Understand that this is a Caltrans/Caltrans street. We have worked tirelessly to try to get the state to do the right thing. In fact, we just met with their new district director who remembered the project and said, why isn't this built yet? And we said, well, please help us with it. It's your folks that control the permits and the process. So I think we're going to have some movement on that important project at A's, but I apologize for the time. We just seem to not get the attention we need on it.
Councilmember Wygan has a question.
Yeah, just on the slurry seal, so that we'll look for a new vendor on that process, or will it be the same vendor as the one we did in Dover Shores?
No, we'll be bidding it.
Okay.
So it's low bid.
Okay, cool.
And then the last slide here, big project in Spyglass Hill work to rehab that road. and put in a median. It's sort of where there's currently some stick-down delineators, so it'll be a little more formal. The picture down below shows it sort of. And work on Von Karman as well in that airport area. So total for roadway is $21.7 million. Quite a bit of work, new funding.
The stick-down delineators, that's a great word. Is that what happened on Coast Highway? That's not our project, obviously.
No.
No, up by Newport Coast, the
Yeah.
Caltrans came
That's
through.
Caltrans,
on
right?
Safety, that's their road. Although we did talk to the district director, and they're going to correct that too. We said we're not happy with the way they left that, and they're going to come back, I believe, in the summer of next year, hopefully before that, and put in.
Do a median there?
They're not going to do a median, they're going to do rumble strips.
Okay.
So it alerts the driver when you're going out. I'm not sure why they chose that particular option.
Yeah.
It's not really aesthetic, particularly on a scenic highway. So we're working to change that.
Yeah, one of the best views in the city, and it's just been destroyed.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, thank you.
On the transportation side, I added this, even though there's no funding right now, the trolley expansion. This is something that will be discussed with you, and there's a study right now that's wrapping up, but it'll come back to council for discussion on this project.
You recall in the planning session, you wanted a little more information. Our ad hoc transit transportation group has been working on this. We are getting close to our consultant's recommendation. We plan on coming back to you probably the second meeting in April to talk about the things like how we run it, how long we run it, some of the questions we had at the planning session, and get guidance from you on how to move forward with the hope of possibly buying the next set of trolleys this coming up fiscal year. So look forward to that April 29th.
And looking for grant money through OCTA's program. That's where we'd be going. Same process as we did for the Balboa Peninsula. The water quality environmental section, Big Canyon Restoration Phase 3 is the large project, and we hope to get that out soon in the next month or so for bidding. We're going to be adding another $2.5 million in grant money. All of that money, the $6.6 million, would be grant money, and that would be the Ocean Protection Council, State Coastal Conservancy, and there's one other I can't think off the top of my head. Those are the major contributors to that. And in the park section, we're going to be looking at Bonita Creek Park rehabilitation, and not just the turf, but a lot of the concrete, some of the parking lot, some of the landscaping. It's going to be quite an overhaul on that park. It needs a lot of love, so we'll be looking at that. And so this is included with the harbors and beaches. And so some of the large projects in this section are the Balboa Yacht Basin dock replacement, and then also the dredging in the Balboa Yacht Basin. And we're trying to tie that up with our dredging project so that this material can go to Long Beach as well. So that's the effort we're working on right now. And the other large items here, we're looking at, this past year we had funding in for the Agate ferry landing to start design. We're going to do that with the Peninsula Palm Ferry landing. So we'll do the study on both of those ends for the landing areas, along with, as you talked about earlier, the Beak ferry. So it'll all tie together nicely. So total for the parks, harbors, and beaches, a little over $16 million. In our water program, we are starting with the design of our water wells and pipelines in Fountain Valley. We found a new location, and we're going to start that work. We have a partnership with Laguna Beach as well. So that's a huge effort, and this would be just the design and permitting period.
And that's a 50-50 partnership with Laguna.
I don't recall if it's exactly 50-50, but it is a partnership, because I think 1/3 of the water going through that line is for Laguna Beach. I have to ask our utilities director. I'm not remembering exactly the terms, but there is an agreement between the city.
Yeah.
Well, either way, it's a great way to get us to 100% water independence, so that's a great thing.
Yep. The large project here is the Irvine Terrace, Shore Cliffs, and Mid-Balboa Peninsula water line replacements. As you can see, almost $9 million project. for those replacements. And that's old cast iron and or steel and original asbestos pipe, the ones that were installed in the 50s. So we're looking at all opportunities to remove and replace those pipes that have been in the ground for a long time. On the wastewater side, we typically have these two in our CIP, and we'll continue to work on both adjustments with street pavement projects, and then also on the lining sides, there's always areas that need repair and replacement on the sewer mains. So that's what this funding is set for. And then on the miscellaneous other section, we put in money. This is general fund money. This is sort of that added general fund money for the airport area specific plan. It was discussed in our planning session. I think Simone mentioned it. So we included that. And this is just, again, a recap of the funding type, funding by type. And then the last items here are a look ahead. And San Miguel Drive, that's one of the roads that we are looking to repave. The Newport Pier and McFadden Square, it's pretty aggressive, probably a year out from that at least, since we know where we are right now. So anyway, in the 27, 28, we're hoping to get started on the seawall, the Grand Canal, and the West End. So that's going to be a big effort, along with the wells in Fountain Valley, the actual construction of those. In 28, 29, some roadway projects, but the big one is the West Coast Highway intersection improvements and second pedestrian bridge. So that will be a huge effort there. And then 29, 30, additional crossings that we're going to be either lining or replacing in the Newport Bay. And the last one, 30, 31, are some roadway improvements that we're looking at. And with that, any questions?
Okay, Councilman Wygan.
Yeah, I was just going to add on that page 22 on the fiscal year 27-28 new water wells, Fountain Valley. Orange County Water District has a loan program that our utilities director is working with as a producer at OCWD. So as being on that board, I get a chance to see firsthand some of the stuff that we're working on, and that allows us to tap into our reserves at OCWD, and then they can loan out money, and that rate is super low. So Mark has been working hard with OCWD to try to get that loan approved, and we gave our first one to Seal Beach recently, and Newport's in line to do that. So that'll allow us to borrow money from OCWD to create that project, which, again, as the mayor mentioned, giving us that independence we need by tapping into Fountain Valley. And the water, obviously, we got to go to them to ask for permission, but that's where we've been getting our water from in Newport for a very long time as our partners in Fountain Valley. So it's a good regional partnership that we have with OCWD and one of our neighboring cities. So it's a good thing. So I appreciate Mark's hard work on trying to get that done.
Yeah, well said. A very important project. Any other questions or comments on council? Okay, great. Seeing none, we'll go out to public comments for this item.
Good afternoon. Carmen Rosa. I would like to make a comment regarding the fiscal year 2025-2026 CIP projection, page 6, last item, boardwalk expansion. I ask that this project be deferred until the complete project of the reimagining of the McFadden Square and boardwalk expansion from 36th Street to Newport Pier is worked on. Why? Creating 6 blocks of boardwalk expansion, a separate bike path, will create nothing but confusion. When you get to 14th Street, the bicycles and the people will merge, and now if this new bike path allows skateboards and surreys and all these other devices that are not allowed on the boardwalk, now when you get to 14th Street, all those legal devices in the separate bike path will be merge with the people where they are not legal. How is that going to be managed? Even further recently, or you may think, oh, because we always see Carmen Rosa and nobody else. Recently, I attended a peer-to-peer association meeting. We had Mayor Stapleton provide a presentation, and during that meeting, the subject of the boardwalk expansion was brought up. The mayor asked, how many people here wants this separate bike path? How many people raised their hands? Nobody. There were about 50 people. My main concern about this is that when Public Works had the reach out to the public, they really didn't reach out to the public extensively. It was almost under the radar. And the few people that attended the 17th October 2024 meeting were there because I personally saw the sign and contacted a few people. So to me, when you have a major project like this that impacts residents, impacts the users of the beach, impacts the walkers of the boardwalk, it really needs to be a study and everybody involved. Like when there are major projects from the Mr. George's department, many times we get a blue paper with a public notice that is mailed to all the residents in the area. Well, I will expect that a major project like this, that type of outreach is done. So I will ask that you consider including this item in a future city council meeting for further discussion. So we put a break right now in that part of the project. Also in the 17th October meeting, basically the boardwalk was not discussed. Most of the meeting was about the 15th Street restrooms. There were two designs to try to get public feedback on that. So we were told in the meeting by Mr. Webb that we were going to get more opportunities to provide our input. So I would like to know when, where, how. Because so far, here we are in March, and we haven't gotten an opportunity besides my being here and the previous meeting. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Next speaker, please.
Ken Rawson. Just as a kind of an educational point, the existing boardwalk is 42 blocks of concrete sidewalk right now. We're going to add this next year, where it's in the budget for this 1.5 million, it was shown 6 blocks. When we were at the meeting on the 17th of October, after the meeting was over, this is the meeting where we were talking about building new restrooms at 15th Street, and a plan was put down showing a blueprint, excuse me, on how the boardwalk and this new wheeled vehicle path running parallel, how they would be laid out. It only addressed the 6 blocks. And I asked the traffic engineer from the city staff that was presenting this, well, what are we going to do about the rest of the way that takes us all the way east to E Street? For your benefit, Balboa Pier and further to the end of the boardwalk is E Street. And he said, because of the dunes that are east of Newport Elementary School, which is 14th Street, California Coastal Commission will not let us build a separate bike path through those dunes. They're protected. So basically, what we're going to have is a boardwalk that's going to stop at Newport Elementary for 6 blocks. The only other part, if we wanted to do a parallel bike path, will be west of McFadden Square to 36th Street. That's 12 more blocks. So the total we'll ever be able to build as a city will be 12 plus 6, 18 blocks out of 42. We're worried that the city's going to build 8 blocks, and that may, 6 blocks, and that may be the end of it. Does it really make sense to have a parallel bike path that runs from 20th Street, which is basically Newport Pier, down to the 15th Street restrooms, or to Newport L, 14th Street, and nothing else? We don't understand why this is being done. And we believe it's just going to cause confusion to bike riders and confusion to the public that come here. And so we ask you to think about this, and really let's see the plan for the total bike path that's going to be developed. Thank you.
Thank you. Next speaker.
Dennis Bress, Balboa Island resident, Mayor Stapleton, Council. Great to be here. Study session. I think that's right. Yeah, study session. So just want to give an input in regards to capital improvement and the work that you guys are doing. From a perspective on Balboa Island, it's phenomenal. I think this is one of the great categories for a city is to see what they're doing in regards to public works, to spend money to have these big projects in the city, and the city of Newport Beach is alive and well for sure with what we're doing with AD 113, which is the undergrounding on Balboa Island. It's phenomenal. We're almost done with that assessment district where all the poles are down now. You guys have pretty much completed all of the cement in the alleys. And if you haven't had a chance to come down to Balboa Island, just drive all the way to the end to Collins at that end and go through the alleys there. And the line of sight now without any of those telephone poles is what we've experienced already on the Little Island. It's just beautiful. Talked to Mike Senacori down there, who's the project lead there, and in the 124 district by our location, by the ferry, that's moving along tremendously, and it looks like you've made progress. So when you come over the bridge onto Balboa Island and that first alley is blocked off, it does impede and backs up traffic considerably, but we're all the way through that part of the alley now being done. So we have complete access and no traffic anyways. So I just want to commend and make a comment. I know NOAA doesn't leave past 73 north into Costa Mesa, but when you drive around...
That's generous.
Yeah, around Newport Beach. I mean, Dave, the work, and I know it was Caltrans that did the work on Coast Highway, beautiful striping and what we have. When you come into Newport Beach and you drive around different cities, when you get to Newport, you know you're in a city that is like on top of their game with public work. So thanks a lot for everything you guys are doing. And thank you, Council, for funding all this stuff.
Thank you. Any other speakers on this item? Okay, seeing none, we'll bring it back up here. Any other comments from my council colleagues?
I just had a question on regards to public outreach on that Balboa Boardwalk, Peninsula Boardwalk. When is the next meeting scheduled for that?
So we had a meeting a while back, and the publication was probably not as broad as the speaker talked about. There was some publication, but that was just to start the community. The next meeting on that has been advised is the PB&R meeting. Will start April 1st, I believe. All are welcome to come to that. We'll be talking about the restrooms and the trail itself. As you may imagine, this trail has been talked about for quite some time. We spent years with Diane Dixon on the peninsula talking about it. It's not a new subject. And we have explained to the speaker that it's going between 14th and 36th Street, but we're going to do a piece. Right now we're working on that first where the restroom is. When we get through at the plaza and we figure out what we're doing with Madden Square and the plaza and the pier, we'll be able to say where the trail goes through there. And then from basically 23rd Street to 36th Street is pretty simple. It's going to be adjacent to the trail like this segment. So if I can draw a line on a plan like I've done, that's where the trail is going to be. We just don't have the specifics yet, and we'll take on those pieces as the community opportunity comes.
Great. That's great by me. It's a little bit harder, obviously, because it's not car traffic, but have we done counts out there, like in peak summertime, like bikes, pedestrian, any miscellaneous? I know skateboards aren't allowed, but, just kind of doing clicker checks to see, like, what part of the boardwalk is the most heaviest trafficked. I lived on the peninsula at 13th Street for 10 years of my life, and I know for a fact that segment between 15th and the pier has a lot more traffic than once you start heading down towards the lower streets and then the lettered streets. There's just a significant drop off once you hit that where Stuff Surfer used to be. So I think it makes sense to do where we're working on, but obviously I'm biased. I lived at 13th Street, so I only rode that segment most of the time, but I did spend a lot of time going up and down the boardwalk, and the traffic significantly drops at 15th Street. It picks up, I think, a lot more down by all the way to 36th Street in between Oceanfront Lot. That's where it's the most crazy on bikes, and there's a lot of incidents where you have to pass or you're going really slow on a bike, and you really have to know and navigate that boardwalk. So I think that this is the right path that we're looking at, but obviously I'm looking forward to the public input. I think PBNR is a great start. I think, broadcasting it out there to say this is what we're looking at, I think will divert a lot of incidences and flashpoints between pedestrians and bicyclists. So I look forward to those upcoming discussions.
And thank you, Councilmember. That's exactly why that segment's there. As you come off Seashore, right at 36, that's what really gets busy through the plaza. And right about Newport L, as you know, there's a natural pinch point there. We have to go by the school, but it does drop off. There hasn't been much discussion going down E. I hear about that. It's not that it can't be done. It's just it's not in the radar right now. If the city some point down the road wants to take that on, we'll have to look at that. But we're really just trying to get between the really busy segments right now.
Yeah, just to add, sorry, because cars and the bicyclists have to come together down at Oceanfront Lot. So everywhere where Blackie's is and Mutt Lynch's are, and all of that, when you do that connector between the two trails, you have to go through that parking lot, and that to me is also a danger. So I don't know if there's some other ideas, in there, but those are all stuff the public will come to you with, and I think that is really important to kind of try to avoid the cars and bicyclists in that specific parking lot of Oceanfront Lot.
Well, everyone here is getting a nice dissertation about some of the issues in District 1. And it's not only Diane Dixon, this was a Mike Henn issue too. So this has been ongoing for a long time. So hopefully you guys will mobilize the peer-to-peer for the April 1st PBNR meeting in this room. And then we'll continue this conversation. This is something that is paramount to me when we talk about boardwalk safety and congestion and everything else. So we'll continue to have this conversation. Councilmember Grant.
Just real quickly, I wanted to acknowledge the remarkable amount of work that you plan for and accomplish daily, weekly, monthly, annually. It's really an achievement. It's a pleasure to work with your team.
Yeah, I would agree. Congrats to the Public Works with Dave Webb and Jim. Great work today. And the city's making a big investment, and I'm proud of the work you guys do. So good job. Anything else? There's no action on this, right? Okay. All right. Well, terrific. Thank you. I appreciate it. Okay, now is the time for public comments on agenda and non-agenda items.
Dennis Bress, Balboa Island. Just wanted to make the comment on something that happened last week that went national, and that's the Newport Beach Trash Interceptor.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. I mean, we're like on every social media feed. Everybody picked us up. Great photos of everybody at the ribbon cutting. So 80% of the trash now with the rain looming, it's functioning currently right now up.
Correct.
Mm-hmm. So this is perfect timing to see just what comes out of that thing based on the rain that's going to come, through the channel into the interceptor. What is the opportunity for public to be able to go over there? I haven't been there physically. Is there a fence that blocks you from going down to see it?
There's a trail. You can walk right over there, right by Fletcher Jones, and you can get close to it. You can't get on it, but you can get close to it, yeah.
Yeah, perfect. Well, that's I think it's over $5 million with some grant funding that helped out there. So tremendous work, and keep up the good work, everybody. Great to see everybody.
Perfect. Thank you, Dennis. Yeah. Good comments. Anything else? Okay. I would say we're recessed till 5 o'clock, but here we are. Let's roll right into it. Okay, so I'll call the meeting to order. For the March 11th regular city council meeting, Madam Clerk, roll call, please.
The record will reflect that council is still here.
Still here. All right, so now is the time for invocation by Jean Clark, Church of Jesus Christ Latter-day Saints. Please join us. There you are. Thank you. Please at the podium would be great.
Our Father in heaven, we bow our heads today as thy sons and daughters and servants. We are grateful for thy watchful eye, the blessings that thou so bounteously bestows upon us each day. We're thankful for the beauty that we have in this area and the opportunities that we have to share this good earth with one another. We pray that we will be good stewards of these gifts. We pray for this good counsel, that they'll be inspired by thee to take steps to help those around us, to uplift one another as we strive to become good brothers and sisters and helpers of one another and sons and daughters of thee. We pray for strength in all that we do. We pray for those that are suffering wherever they may be, that their needs will be met and we will be inspired to know how we can meet those needs where they are. We ask for a blessing upon this council again and all that come here tonight, that they will do so with a heart open to help one another and to lift this community. And this we do in the name of thy Son, Jesus Christ. Amen.
Thank you. Councilmember Bartow, would you lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance?
Place your right hand over your heart. Ready, begin. I pledge allegiance to the flag
of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, Madam Clerk, notice to the public.
The City Council of Newport Beach welcomes and encourages community participation. Public comments are invited on items listed on the agenda and non-agenda items. Speakers must limit comments to 3 minutes per person to allow everyone to speak. Written comments are encouraged as well. The City Council has the discretion to extend or shorten the time limit on agenda or non-agenda items.
Okay, so now's the time for council announcements or reports from council members on committee activities, and the time for council members to request an A1 item to be placed on a future agenda. Councilmember Weigand, do you have any announcements or reports?
Yes, Councilmember Grant and I attended a meeting with Supervisor Foley and some of her county staff in our community development department related to the Dunes property. They're looking to do some redevelopment down there, so they've got some ideas that I think will all be public too soon. But some include a hotel, some boat storage, the reconfiguration of the camp down there, some parking reconfiguration, some restaurant reconfiguration. So there's a really big master plan that the county's looking at, and probably be soliciting input from the public relatively soon. So probably stay tuned to that. I think it's something we should keep our eyes on and add as much input as we can. So that would be it, I think, for me today.
Terrific. Thank you. Councilmember Bartow.
Yes, earlier this week, or last week, went to the Water Quality Control and Tidelands Committee. It was really great to see everyone's wonderful ideas distilled into specific objectives and goals, primarily related to trash and ultimately rehabilitation recommendations for specific areas. So that will be forthcoming, and they have deadlines attached to all of them. So I'm excited to see what we can accomplish. Next week, I meet with the OC Watershed Committee. So I'm excited to tie all of those things we've had this past week from our goals and objectives here to keep sort of some of that upstream trash out of our bay with the work of our trash wheel, which is wonderful, our interceptor, and then how we can partner with OC Watershed. So it's really great timing to have all of these things line up, and I feel excited, and I think the committee feels excited as well with what we're going to get done.
Love it. Well done. Councilmember Grant.
Thank you. I serve on the board of the Transportation Corridor Agencies and the vice chair of the Joint Capital Projects Committee, and we met in the end of February, and I just wanted to bring some information back from that meeting. They have a very interesting toll plaza reuse program. The toll plazas really aren't necessary anymore because we have all electronic tolling, and they're looking at the 10 sites of underutilized space for possible uses in the community. One of the interesting uses for one of the toll plazas that would affect us is the Catalina View Toll Plaza, which is right up past the Bonita Canyon entrance. And we had a little bit of information about the potential for a helipad there, which is basically what you would consider a large container of water that would be available in fire incidents, and it would be accessed by the OCFA and available for not just our city, but the actual region, where helicopters would be able to load up with water and have immediate access to that resource in the event of an emergency. So it's not a definite, but it's definitely a use that they're looking at for that site, the Catalina View Toll Plaza. Also at that site, that's one of the only really congested areas on the toll lanes, and we actually are now in project development stage for one new lane in each direction to improve the flow of traffic on the 73. So those are important improvements coming our way. I also attended with our transportation engineer, Brad Summers, the OCTA tour of the transportation facility that they have. We got an overview of the 405 express lanes, their operations, partnerships that they've had with Newport Beach, which total up to $50 million since 2006. A good example that came up today was the grant that they've given us for the previous Balboa Peninsula trolley. And given that success, we're going ahead to expand to 5 new trolleys. So it's nice to have partners like the OCTA to help us look at new initiatives. A few other things. I was with Councilmember Bardo and Councilmember Weber at the Oasis Senior Center Wine and Cheese event. That was very fun. Most of us here were at the Fire Station 2 demolition party on the peninsula. Looking forward to new opportunities there at Lido House Hotel. We all were at the Trash Wheel Interceptor ribbon cutting. And then finally, just this last weekend, Mayor Joe Stapleton and I attended the Iranian American Chamber of Commerce Nowruz Festival and enjoyed much singing and dancing on stage. Thank you.
It wasn't a lot of dancing on my part, but Councilmember Grant tried. Councilmember tried to pull me into dancing. You had great dance moves. Councilmember Blom?
Normally, I don't speak during this moment, but my wife reminded me it was the mayor's birthday tomorrow.
Oh, there we go.
I was going to tell somebody else to do it, which Lauren probably already was going to, because well, you know what?
And your time's up.
That's perfect. And I'll give my time to Sarah.
Terrific. Thank you.
I was going to suggest singing, but I won't.
Singing and dancing.
I didn't even make it to wish you happy birthday.
Yeah.
Fair enough.
None other than happy early birthday.
Okay, great. Mayor Pro Tem Clement, what do you have?
Just a little bit more roasting. It's appropriate that Sarah be the one actually to give the message, since she's the one that's taken away your youngest member.
That's
of
true,
this
yeah. I lose sleep at night.
Badge. But you are having a banner year, so I think that's
There
still a
we
big
go.
win for you. I'll be quick. I participated in the first official roundtables for the CDM Commercial Corridor Study and the SCAG Transportation Committee meeting for this month, and also attended the Trash Interceptor ribbon cutting with all of my colleagues. Thank you.
Terrific. And for myself, it's, as the mayor of Newport Beach, there's a lot of wonderful things you get to do and a lot of diversity and events and things. And for me, I'm on this tour across the city giving my state of the city, which in my opinion has never been stronger. So I'm really enjoying this opportunity to do that. For the first time, I think for the first mayor ever to go and speak to the employees here in the city. So I went over to the city yard and we had over 100 city yard employees listen to my State of the City, which was a lot of fun. And then I also did a second round because we were fully booked on the first round. So I had another 50 employees here at City Hall in the community room, did my State of the City. So that was a lot of fun. And then I did it with the Newport Beach Chamber of Commerce at their Wake Up Newport. And then lastly, went to the Newport Shores annual HOA meeting and did a State of the City there. So that was great. Again, I was at the Trash Wheel. It was my first official ribbon cutting as the mayor, and probably one of my favorites. A $5.5 million project, and congrats to the Public Works team and all that you guys did on that project. It was certainly an engineering marvel when you look at it, and kudos to former Mayor Duffy Duffield for his hard work and our water quality committee. But to capture hundreds of tons of trash before it ever enters our Upper Back Bay, I'm just so proud of the work we're doing here as a city when it comes to water, coastal resiliency, and sustainability. So well done. And I did attend the Nowruz celebration with the Iranian Chamber of Commerce, and congrats to Shani Mosley for all her hard work on that. It was in Newport Beach, and there were thousands of people celebrating the Persian New Year. So that was a lot of fun. And congrats to Bob Olson and Artie Olson for their work on the new fire station number 2. We're going to get 5 new cottages, potentially a restaurant, and some other great things. But only in Newport Beach would you have a demolition party with past hors d'oeuvres. So it was a lot of fun and well attended. So all that being said, where are we at now? Okay, Madam Clerk, do you want to read notice regarding public comments on consent calendar?
This is the time in which council members may pull items from the consent calendar for discussion. Those are items 1 through 12. Public comments are also invited on consent calendar items. Speakers must limit comments to 3 minutes. Before speaking, please state your name for the record. If any item is removed from the consent calendar by a council member, members of the public are invited to speak on each item for up to 3 minutes per item. All matters listed under consent calendar are considered to be routine and will all be enacted by one motion in the form listed below. Council members have received detailed staff reports on each of the items recommending an action. There will be no separate discussion of these items prior to the time the City Council votes on the motion unless members of the City Council request specific items to be discussed and are removed from the consent calendar for separate action.
Okay, terrific. Councilmember Weigand, do you have any items to pull from consent calendar or conflicts to announce on items related 1 through 12?
No, I do not.
Councilmember Bartow?
No.
Councilmember Grant?
No.
Councilmember Blum?
I'm going to pull item 6.
Okay, pulling item number 6. Councilmember Weber?
No.
Mayor Pro Tem Kleiman?
Yeah, I would like to recuse myself on item number 6 for any perceived conflict given my position with the organization that was previously involved with this polo event.
Okay, terrific. I will say ditto, but I will just read it. Because of my position with the nonprofit Newport Beach Foundation, who was a former operator of the polo event, I will be recusing myself from agenda item number 6. So do we have a motion?
I will move the consent calendar, except for item 6, which was pulled by Councilmember Blum, and noting the amendments to the minutes, item number 1, and recusals by myself and Mayor Stapleton to item number 6.
Okay, terrific. Is there a second? Councilmember Bartow seconds. Okay, we'll now have public comments on consent calendar items 1 through 12, excluding item number 6.
Mayor Stapleton, members of the council, my name is Jim Mosier. Item number 5 on the consent calendar is a proposed ordinance that would allow our city finance director to extend the deadlines for good cause for related to short-term lodging permits. If you feel that part of your role as council members is to ensure that we enact well-written laws, this is one I think you should refer back to staff because I think it needs some more work. 2 problems with it are, first, staff is recommending defining and providing examples of what good cause is, and that is a fine thing, provided it was added to the chapter about short-term lodgings, because that's what the definition is relevant to. However, the proposed ordinance would put that definition at the very beginning of our code and apply to all of the chapters of the code, and that definition is really not relevant to most of them, and so it would affect and create confusion for 19 other chapters in our municipal code. It really does not belong there. And the second problem is that the staff is wanting the finance director not only to extend the short-term permit deadlines, but actually to waive them by offering an extension that is retroactive. In other words, the person missed the deadline and you're not just extending it, you're saying that they don't have to observe the deadline at all. That again is fine if that was explained in the code, but staff is proposing to put that in an obscure section of the ordinance that will never appear in the code. And that's a bad thing to do. An example of why that's a bad thing to do is what was going to be your business item, agenda item 13 tonight, in which the building official thought their authority was expiring, and it was not explained in the code. It was off in some obscure section. So if you want things to be part of the code, you want to put them in the code. You don't want to put them in an obscure part of the ordinance. So this needs more work. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Any other public comments? Okay, seeing none. Any additional council comments? Okay, terrific. Let's vote.
Prior to reading the vote, I'll read the ordinance titles for items 3 through 5. Ordinance 2025-2, an ordinance of the City Council of the City of Newport Beach, updating the military equipment use policy for the Newport Beach Police Department. Ordinance 2025-3, designating a portion of Corona Del Mar as a safety enhancement zone during the Memorial Day, 4th of July, Independence Day, and Labor Day holidays, and expanding the West Newport Safety Enhancement Zone to include the Memorial Day and Labor Day holidays by amending Section 1.4.60, Safety Enhancement Zone, Chapter 10.58, Police Services at Large Parties, Gatherings, or Events on Private Property, and Section 10.66.60, Violation Penalty Civil Fine of the Newport Beach Municipal Code, and Ordinance 2025-4, amending Section 1.8.120, Definitions of Title I, General Provisions, Section 5.95.42, Maximum Number of Permits, Section 5.95.43, Transfer of Permit, and Section 5.95.65, Suspensions and Revocations of Chapter 5.95, Short-Term Lodging Permits of Title V, Business Licenses and Regulations of the Newport Municipal Code to update administrative procedures related to good cause determinations and extension of deadlines. The motion carries unanimously 7-0.
Okay, terrific. Yeah, kudos. Well done.
One breath.
That was good. Okay, so it looks like we had item number 6 that was removed from the consent calendar, so I am recused myself, and so is the Mayor Pro Tem. So former Mayor Noah Blum, would you lead us, and we'll be back up?
Of course, thank you. All right, thank you. Real quickly, I pulled this item because I have a couple of questions. Do we have anyone from the other side here? Sean, do you see anyone from the Celebrity Foundation?
The applicant.
Okay. All right. So my questions are concerning the attachment that they sent to us, attachment A, and specifically a statement that they make towards the bottom of that, that they'll be serving only beer and wine. That's included in the price of the ticket. We have already met with the State Alcohol Control Board, who have agreed to this policy. So in my other job, I spend a lot of time dealing with the alcohol beverage control, and I have never heard them called that. So I don't believe they have. And I'm concerned about this piece of the policy, right? And I want it to be clear, I'm very much for the event. I think it's a wonderful way to get people together. I love bringing things down to that part of the city. I think it's something that is needed. I have no issue whatsoever with the foundation or their causes. But if we're going to be waiving council policy for the use of something, I would expect honesty in their application. And so I just want to make sure that our guardrails are up. I want it in the public record that it's concerning to me that this letter feels like a bluster rather than truth, and I just want to make sure we're there. Do you have any thoughts on that?
Yeah, it's not correct.
Okay.
We've communicated with the applicant. That's not how we do our alcohol allow for special event permits. So we've given clear direction on what's needed.
Okay.
And we actually have extended the deadline until Thursday to provide what we need to process the permit. So yeah, that's been made clear, but it's not, at this point, it is not there. And if we don't have that resolved by Thursday, we're willing to approve the event, but without alcohol, unless we get what we need to do it.
And that's really the only reason you're in front of us right now, because of the alcohol piece. Is that correct?
That is correct.
Okay. So at this point, I'm willing to continue the item, but I'm not willing to approve it at this point, knowing that we don't, like I said, this feels fraudulent. I know the ABC would never agree to anything without the city's approval first. That's typically how this program works. You know, we decide it's okay. They come in as a secondary source and will okay the event. I'm happy to keep moving if you think it's better for us to approve this so they can make it till Thursday. I'm willing to work with you on that. But at this point, I don't really understand why we would approve something that they haven't done the due diligence on.
Yeah, the only thing, approving it tonight does not approve the alcohol.
Okay.
They're still subject to the special event permit process. So
Okay.
all this is doing is waiving it, and it waives it if they fulfill everything they need to do, which is still under our purview to approve, along with the police department.
Okay, so I feel good that as from staff, you guys have a good handle on this and you won't let anything go beyond it. All right, that's fine. Then I'll move for staff recommendation to approve. That's fine.
We'll need public comment as well.
Okay,
After you.
perfect.
I'll second.
Let's go out for public comment.
I even brought notes tonight. Sorry. Okay. Hello, council members. I am Kelly Carlson. I'm president of the Balboa Village Merchant Association. My husband and I also own 2 businesses and a home in Balboa Village, so safe to say we're very within that community. The reason I came tonight is because of the polo match in Peninsula Park and the waiver for alcohol. We discussed this at our last merchant meeting, and safe to say my responses from fellow merchants was nothing great. Merchants really aren't excited to see the event. For those that are unfamiliar with the area, we're made up of a lot of small businesses. Most of our land-based businesses are supported by our water businesses. So whether it's whale watching, Duffy rentals, boat tours, what other water activities are going on, that's what pushes business to our land businesses. So my thought has always been, we got to protect those water businesses. Obviously, makes us very seasonal. I always say we probably get about 20 good weekends a year. So for years, I've had concerns about events happening in the area that block parking or use parking to accommodate their attendees. There was a time that Memorial Day to Labor Day was our really well-defined season, but as schools have really changed, our seasonality has really changed and made us very dependent on even the beginning of May and September. In our past experience, typically people attending these events do not turn into going into our businesses and being customers. So these events can really negatively impact these businesses that our land businesses are depending on being successful. Sometimes as merchants actually feel that no one really cares about this impact. I truly hope and believe that you guys and city staff really do care about the impact. Sorry, I lost. So, we're not against events happening. We partnered with Public Works and city staff on the Touch a Truck event, which has been great. Last year when the event was too well attended and caused quite a bit disruption with traffic and no parking, city staff adjusted location and are adjusting their marketing for this year to alleviate those challenges that we had last year. As merchants, in participating in this event, we bring a Duffy, we bring a vintage bumper car, we bring a jet ski, what else do we, and a golf cart. We also do a little giveaway for the kids, and we really have embraced this event, and it's a great event. It's a part of the community. A lot of the people that attend this event are locals, and now we have reminded them, come down to the village, we have all these things going on. So that's a real win-win for us event. Now, on to this year's polo match. Our biggest concern with this event this year is where's the local ties? We're being told that our customers and our businesses are going to be displaced for an event of 1,000 people for a nonprofit, with no local connection. I simply can't understand why. I'm sure they do good work, but why can't they host their event at their own location? I really believe that if city property is being used and a city ordinance is being changed for an event, it should benefit a local cause. I would also help that any event in Balboa Village would help support Balboa Village and offer all our merchants a way to participate. A lot of our merchants participate.
Let's wrap it up.
Sorry, okay.
Yeah.
They participate in the boat
About
parade,
5 seconds.
and they are quick to donate to local schools and fundraisers. So
Wonderful.
I really just, in closing, want to make sure that this event is going to help our area if you're
100%.
taking our parking.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, sorry.
Any other public comments on this item? All right, seeing none, we'll bring it back up here. And I will just say real quickly, I completely understand. Sometimes it is very difficult to understand the connection between an event that you feel like takes things away and adds to what you're trying to do, especially when it's about trying to make your living and trying to bring people to the area. I think as far as including every merchant in it, it becomes very difficult as we don't control the events. That's part of the idea. We're constantly trying to make things work to activate areas and to create kind of a buzz around those places. I've seen the event in the past. I will say I did make it out after the last one to stop by a couple of the restaurants and establishments after. So we might have been the only 3 people, but we were out there. So I do think sometimes it's nice to remind people of districts in our cities that still exist. And I think that sometimes is part of the crux of being all the way down the peninsula. I empathize with you and I understand. I'll still move for staff recommendation on this under the very strict caveat that all their ducks are in a row. And this works out perfectly, and I'll put that in your very capable hands, Sean. So we had a motion and a second, but I'll come up here for comments first. Councilmember Grant.
Thank you. I think this is a really important discussion. It's very important when we are using the resources in our city that we use them wisely and fairly. I personally support local business and appreciate when local business is involved with anything that we're doing in the city. Our city events, private events, it is really important to be partners here. I understand what Council Member Blum has said, and I agree that sometimes there are consequences of an event that are larger than just the actual event, and especially when we're looking at the peninsula, we understand how difficult it's been to make sure that we have consistent attendance down on the peninsula to all of the businesses and bringing people down into that area. So having events down there is a way of promoting the business in that area, maybe not one-on-one that particular day, but it does expand the base of use in those areas. That being said, it's very important that we do give a lot of support to the businesses that are there to make sure that our long-standing good businesses continue to feel the support of the city. I want to be sure that we also fairly treat any applicant to the city who wants to have an event. We do have strict protocols in place. There's requirements that any participant, whether it be a nonprofit, an individual person, somebody who's having a family event, any of those, they have to follow. And so I think it's really important that we be mindful of our need to fairly apply those regulations. The last thing I would say is that certainly alcohol on any public property is an important thing for us to be extremely mindful of. And I'm proud of our Recreation and Senior Services Department in the way that they fairly administrate that use. We have other events in our city, especially on the peninsula. We have a volleyball tournament. We might have a surf tournament. There's events all the time, and there is alcohol, and that's a very important opportunity for us to make sure that we're extremely mindful in protecting our community. So thank you, Sean, for following up and making sure that the protocols are all met. I have a lot of confidence you will make sure that all the T's are crossed, all the I's are dotted, and I think maybe in some ways you can help facilitate. If I realize that we can't require any events to bring in any local businesses, but certainly we can facilitate those communications so that we can ease the burden on the local businesses, the parking, the trash, any activities. We want to make sure that everything is lawful and everything is fairly presented to everybody who applies for something in our city. So I would, second the motion, unless somebody else has already seconded.
I believe Councilmember Bartow did. Councilmember Weigand, please.
Yeah, Director Levin, I just had a couple questions. Did you ask the applicant to be here, or was he asked to be here?
He's been informed of this meeting multiple times.
Okay. And does he have community partners in this event? Like last year, I feel that there was, a few of our local businesses and sponsors were there. Does it kind of have the same feel this year, or is it?
There's a different group operating. That's why we're coming with this, because there's a different group running it this year. I'm not sure who he has coming at this point because we're still waiting for some more information. But yeah, it's a different, and I will say, just to your point, anything that happens at Peninsula Park, we always reach out to the business community through Kelly as the president to let them know what's going on. And we encourage events that go down there to try to incorporate it if they can. It's up to them, but it's always a good idea to get some good synergy with events that happen down there.
There was a few hiccups a few years past with this same operator related to the turf holes and, some damage done. That's kind of in the contract to make sure that gets resolved for this.
Yes.
For this year, because I didn't notice any issues the last couple of years.
It's in the permit if there's any damage.
It's a big spot for a junior lifeguard program, right afterwards.
Absolutely.
So I just want to make sure that that's dialed in by them. And then do they get to come back next year if they want to keep going with alcohol, or is it waived in future years?
This is not an indefinite waiver.
Okay.
So we would see how this year went and then determine if they wanted to go forward, if that's something we wanted to entertain. But at this point, this would just be for this year.
And then just to confirm, we're approving this on the caveat, Councilmember Blom's thoughts here that this gets resolved in the next couple of days, which
it'd
would
still
be
be
due by the
subject
ABC?
to the special event permit
Okay,
process.
I'm good with it. Okay, thanks.
Any other comments up here? All right, let's go ahead and vote.
The motion carries 5-0.
Excellent. We'll give the mayor a moment to come back out.
All right, here we go. Current business. Item number 13 is ordinance number 2025-5, an amendment deleting I know a memo is provided by staff today.
Public comments on non-agenda items, sir?
Okay, let's do public comments on non-agenda items.
Hi, good evening, Mayor and City Council members. My name is Lucas Shakori. I'm a policy intern for Supervisor Katrina Foley, who proudly represents the City of Newport Beach as Vice Chair of the Board of Supervisors. I want to first say to Mayor Stapleton and Councilmember Grant, thank you. It was wonderful seeing you at the Iranian American Chamber event, and as a member of that community, I can say your presence was much appreciated. Now, I just want to highlight a few updates from our office. Just last month, Vice Chair Foley's nitrous oxide ordinance went into effect, which is basically created to address the rise in the sale and recreational use of nitrous oxide, also known as whippets, NOx, and though it is prohibited under California law for recreational use, there's sort of a loophole that's like a don't ask, don't tell, where if a buyer doesn't expressly say why they're buying the nitrous oxide, then, a smoke shop, for example, can sell it. And as many of you know, smoke shops are not really the main destination for whipped cream items and things of that sort. And even last month, for example, the Costa Mesa Police Department confiscated nearly 7,500 NOx cylinders and chargers from 2 smoke shops. And so hopefully this ordinance will help specifically in county unincorporated areas to close that loophole. Another thing, the supervisor vice chair also sits on the Orange County Transportation Authority, and we're very excited to announce that last week they were able to refinance $250 million worth of Measure M2 bonds. The thing about these bonds is that they were initially only desirable because there was a federal subsidy, but due to budget reconciliations, the federal subsidy lowered in 2013, and there was risk of that happening again. And, it just cost county taxpayers even more. So they were able to refinance, get us out from under that reliance on the federal government, and able to even bring home $10.5 million of saving, or 4.4%. So it's amazing for a lot of the projects that were mentioned before. And other than that, the vice chair looks forward to continued partnerships with the city of Newport Beach and the community. Please feel free to call our office if you have any questions at 714-834-3550. Thank you.
Terrific. Thank you. Any other public comments on non-agenda items? Okay, seeing none. All right, so do you want me to read the ordinance, or since we pulled it, not necessary? Okay, so item number 13, a memo was provided by staff today to pull this item from the agenda. Okay, terrific. So, Madam Clerk, would you please read the announcement for motion for reconsideration?
A motion to reconsider the vote on any action taken by the City Council at either this meeting or the previous meeting may be made only by one of the council members who voted with the prevailing side.
Okay, are there any motions for reconsideration? Okay, seeing none. At this time, we're going to do an adjournment in memory of Jack Crowell before we recess to closed session, and Councilmember Grant will do us the honor.
Thank you. Jack Crowell, a military hero and veteran of the greatest generation, passed away on February 23rd, 2025. He was born in 1924 in Hartford, Connecticut, and was raised in San Marino, California. At 18, he enlisted in the U.S. Army Air Force to serve in World War II. He served as a lead navigator, flying 33 missions, including 2 on D-Day, and earned a Purple Heart, the Air Medal, and the Distinguished Flying Cross. Post-war, he received the French Legion of Honor Medal for his services, and he retired as a captain, Army Air Corps, in 1945. After the war, Jack attended Stanford University and then Claremont Men's College, marrying Janet Baer in 1950. Jack was a successful businessman, instrumental in building Baer Paint Company into one of the largest private companies in Orange County with more than 1,000 employees. After the death of his first wife, Jack married his second wife, Kingsley Roney Brosnan, and traveled the world with her. He endowed multiple scholarships and professorships, including the Janet Crowell Memorial Scholarship, the John V. Crowell Professorship of European History, the Kingsley Crowell Professorship of American History, and the Earth Systems Science Building at the University of California at Irvine. Jack was passionate about many things: collecting post-war European automobiles, restoring vintage fighter planes, and flying gliders and prop planes, and even receiving his helicopter license at the age of 73. He loved the Newport Beach community and supported many causes, including the coalition to build the City Hall that we sit in today here in Newport Center, and saving the historical Cannery Restaurant in Newport Beach from destruction. Jack is survived by his wife Kingsley and his 2 sons, Brad and Spencer, and their families, and will be long remembered in our city as a great man of valor and philanthropy. Thank you.
What a legend, Mr. Crowell. You will be missed. We will now go to closed session. Mr. Harp, do you have a closed session announcement?
Thank you, Mayor. The City Council adjourned to closed session to meet with the city's labor negotiators regarding negotiations with all unions.
Okay, terrific. We are recessed. Thank you. We good? Okay. Mr. Harp, is there a closed session report?
Thank you, Mayor. There's no closed session report this evening.
Okay, we're adjourned. Thank you.